You ready for a real story? Let's kick back. Bring it.
All right, welcome to Kickback. Real people, real stories. And today we have another fascinating guest for you. As of course, we're shooting out of the vault here at the Leafy Latitude Cigar Lounge. We're actually in a bank vault. There used to be an actual bank here. They kept the bank vault and we decided to put our podcast in it. And as usual, it's all about what we put inside our own personal vault, and we make those deposits and we make those withdrawals in life, and whether they be successes or failures. And every guest that we bring to the table, they all have a story where we all have something in common here is that we do make some failures in life. We do make some successes in life, and then we're able to store that in our own personal vault and bring that out when we need to use it. And that person, with no exception, is Mr. Gideon Ford. Gideon?
Hello.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Gideon's got a great background. It's going to be a fun conversation. Gideon and I always seem to have great conversations when we get together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Gideon's background is filled with a lot of life lessons, also a lot of hurdles and obstacles that you all have the same in common. We all go through our own different obstacles in life. And Gideon comes from a great background of IT. For those of you who are obviously nervous about the cyber world and the things we're involved with in our daily lives, whether it be your phone, your iPad, your laptop, even your Furbo dog camera at home that keeps an eye on your dog.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So Gideon was with Apple for a pretty long time. He now owns his own company, Mojave IT.
Correct. Mojave IT Pros.
Yeah. And now that focuses more or less on cybersecurity.
Exactly. We will do all the regular day-to-day IT troubleshooting and, take care of the headaches and the tech fires, but our specialty is in cybersecurity. Really, I want to focus on helping educate users. You could throw a lot of money at hardware and software.
Right.
The easiest way to get into any company is by tricking the user somehow. And that's clicking on a link, playing to their emotions, or just tricking them with, an attachment. And you're expecting something and it looks like it's from a colleague.
So is the biggest concern then, or not concern, the biggest way to battle cyber type of crimes is more the awareness of the user, not so much the packages you buy, like these software packages that have different firewalls and different security walls. And is it more, are those going to help you enough, or do you need a lot more than that?
It's very much like any, we're in a bank vault.
Right.
The bank vault is secure from anybody walking in. When the bank is closed, it's locked down. Even when the bank is open, you have people, tellers, security guards, they're all doing their job. But if you were to say, hey, come on in, you're my friend, step inside the vault, you don't know if that friend's going to take something or anything.
Right.
So it's the end user, which is unfortunately the weakest part. And because they may not know, they may not understand the danger that is in an email, a text message, or a password that is just password with a capital P.
Right.
And that actually, even today, is one of the most common passwords still.
People still use password do they think that they're trying to trick somebody, thinking, well, nobody will think of this because it's too easy? I mean, I don't understand that.
I've met people today who use very simple passwords like that, and it's I just I'm fine. It's not going to happen to me, and you never know. I mean, it's like a car accident. Sure, you're safe, but then you could be going through an intersection and get T-boned.
It's like that person never locks their front door of the house. My neighborhood's safe. My neighbors know me. I'm not worried about it. But they actually come up with these passwords and they just put password.
They just put passwords. The top 3 most commonly hacked passwords are password 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was going to ask you that. So 1, 2, 3.
And I'm talking in the millions.
Wow.
So it is crazy. So again, your companies, they can go and they can secure the hardware, and they can put software in to monitor traffic and make sure that people can't get in. But it takes nothing for you to simply send somebody an email and say, hey, take a look at this budget and let me know, or something like that. They open it up and it prompts for Microsoft credentials.
Right.
You don't think anything of it. You sign in. It's not a real prompt. You just handed over your login.
So just as simple as that.
Just as simple as that.
Just opening that there.
Nothing was installed, so you've bypassed all of the hardware and software. You've just simply given the option for them to give you their credentials. That is easy, common. I have One of my clients, I'm always getting emails
Right.
that somebody within needs to update their direct deposit information. So, and again, right there, it's not a long term, it's not a big scam.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, if you have somebody sitting in a basement
Right.
that's sending out thousands of these emails to different companies, and you get 5%,
Yeah,
that
just a small
reply
handful.
and update the direct deposit, and then come payday, somebody doesn't get their paycheck, it went to another bank. They only get that one because the employee is going to say, "Where's my money?"
It's a numbers game.
But exactly.
So
And
if you fish on 1,000 people, even if you only get 5%, even 1%,
absolutely.
you got to win.
And they didn't put any labor in. They just created the email templates. They sent it out and moved on. And that's where we provide a lot of dark web monitoring, because you got to ask yourself, well, where do they get emails and phone numbers?
Right. Yeah. How do they get all that stuff?
So they get data brokers. They have, all these breaches that we hear about. Equifax or all,
Right.
and everybody's been hacked at some point in time. So, Home Depot, McDonald's recently, but the information is out there. Sometimes they're not getting anything that's valuable, email and password or anything, but they are getting emails, maybe
Right.
phone numbers, anything like that. And all that information go out to the dark web and is auctioned off.
They auction it off?
Heck yeah, it's just sold because you have people out, you have the demand, supply and demand.
Wow. Okay.
People who want it so they can turn around and take advantage of it. And again, you may send out 1,000, 100,000, 1% reply. You just got paid for doing little to no work. And I mean, there was actually a video recently. Interpol had taken down one of these groups.
Right.
And you could see the video of it. And as they're going through the office, you see boxes and boxes of SIM cards. Now, before the SIM card is pulled out and put into the phone, it's the size of a credit card.
Right.
And then the SIM card is just tiny. But these are boxes and boxes of SIM cards and computers that are running as multiple phones that are running these scams.
Wow.
So yeah, that's just going on all day
So it's
long.
basically just mining. They're just mining for information.
Exactly.
And then they take that information and they're selling that. And who's the buyers mostly? Is it just these groups that are sitting in these hotels and then they're using information?
That could be anybody.
Okay.
I mean, when you start dialing into the dark web, you're looking at eco-terrorism. So eco-terrorism, you got foreign entities, so foreign state governments,
Right.
U.S. government. You've got
So everybody's buying. Everybody's a buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was you've seen the motivational poster before where you see the small part of the iceberg up top.
Right.
Think about that as the internet of today. Google, Amazon,
right,
everybody.
There,
just the top up. The huge iceberg that's under the ocean is a small representation of what the dark web is.
Wow.
Because you've got everything that's out there. And they're selling anything from, again, our information to weapons of mass destruction, child pornography, sex trafficking, you name it.
So who monitors this dark web? Who is this?
Is
it
the U.S. and other entities do their best to go out there. And that's where you get like dark web monitoring.
Right.
Because they're just looking and they're trying to go. But again, it's so vast that there's no structure or way to really dive into it. So
yeah, that's scary. You think about that is just this whole bottom of the iceberg of information that
vast
people are.
Openness, yeah.
And so now what do you all do when it comes to your business? Is it mostly educating people, or do you actually go into a lot of these computers or people's software programs and try to find if their information is being used?
So we do. We provide software to protect their computers, their hardware, as well as any cloud-based accounts. So email, Dropbox, SaaS, that's software as a service. We go and we protect those. And then what we do is we also provide the monitoring for that. So if somebody's trying to log into your email from the other side of the globe at 3 a.m. for you, obviously we're going to try and lock them out. But we also do dark web monitoring. So if your information shows up, then we could say, hey, you know what, take a look out here. Your information was out there. Don't worry. It was only maybe your address, phone number, anything that was found.
Right.
There's the opportunity, or there's the alternates where it's email and password was compromised. Now we can say, hey, it's time to reset this password. And again, that's where the education comes in, because the average user has something around 250 passwords.
Well, I think I have that. I think I probably have even more.
Even more.
Probably things I only logged into once in my whole life. but I still have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, out of 250, do you have a different password for each?
I don't know if I should answer that or not, but I mean, I'll say no. How's that?
Right. So, and, think about the people who have password as a password. But yeah, again, the average user has about 250 passwords. And of course, there's going to be a lot of reuse because we're human. You're going to forget a lot. And maybe you do a good job of keeping it written down on a piece of paper somewhere,
Right.
hopefully not underneath the keyboard.
Sure.
You never know. But that's a lot. So when you have a password that's compromised, you got to take a little deeper thought in, well, what else does that, spread to or affect? And sometimes you have people who use a variation of it. Okay, I'm not going to use password 1. I'm going to use password 2.
Yeah, they change the last letter of something or the first letter.
So, and that's where I like to provide a little literature. I'll help set up like a password keeper, like LastPass Keeper, something along those lines. They're a very inexpensive tool that will help lock their passwords up. Now you can focus on remembering one,
right,
and all the rest are there. You never want to save passwords in like Chrome or Internet Explorer, so the autofill comes in because they're out there. And
so
now,
don't use the autofill.
No, they were great before.
All right.
But
so now it's not, because I unfortunately have used it.
Yeah, and
now I'm going to undo it.
Thankfully, it's really easy to take care of.
Right.
And move those passwords over to an actual password key, storage,
right,
and management, so that one, they're encrypted, locked away. Look at Chrome. I love Chrome. I use Chrome all the time.
Right, of course, yeah.
But I'm signed into Chrome from multiple computers. Chrome has got the cloud base to it. So if somebody were to breach my Gmail address, they can log in and see what I've synced to and download all my passwords and everything in a beautiful Excel spreadsheet, basically. And you got the site, the username, password. It's all right there for them.
So when you're doing a password, you know how you go in there and it says create a password, and you go to do it and it tells you if it's weak, strong, or strongest. How reliable is that barometer of?
Very.
It is.
There's a chart out there that I use that's a really handy aid. It'll show you really the complexity and how easy it is for computers to hack that password.
Right.
A 3-letter password is nothing. And then it kind of goes down. The longer the password gets, you can see the length of time that extends. Now, when we start throwing in maybe uppercase and lowercase,
right,
numbers, special characters, and it's all in this graph.
Right.
And then once you get to something that is, 12, you're talking hundreds of years for a computer to try and go through.
Really? So it take that's the longer the password, the harder to unlock the combination.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to.
So, and that's why I recommend always using just random. I've gotten away from using any type of dictionary word.
Right.
In any password. Certainly don't use your name or anything like that.
So if it gives you a suggestion, sometimes you log in, they say, okay, and it'll give you a suggestion of a password, and you can click out of that and create your own. You're better off just taking the random.
I take the random because I'm using something to store my passwords.
Got it.
So it doesn't matter to me. And I'll go through and set up something maybe 32 characters long.
32?
I mean, if I'm going to have a tool that's going to store my passwords, I might as well go for broke.
Well, you would know better. So, I mean, you're the expert here. So if you tell me to create a 32-letter password,
it's probably overkill. Who cares?
But it's like saying how overkill is it protecting your house? And is it better to have 4 locks, or is it better to have these types of locks? I mean, if you're the expert on telling someone how to not break into your house, you might want to listen to the expert. So I'm listening to you now. 32? If it's 32, I might have to do 32. I mean,
I had to laugh one time. We were changing security companies, and the technician was there, and of course he's got to go and log all the devices onto the Wi-Fi. Well, I'm already prepared for this. I know my password, so I have it written down. I'm like, here, I'll set down and I'll help, and he could see the length and the complexity of the password. It's all random, and he's like, sorry, the equipment won't take this. It won't take special characters. I'm like, get the hell out of here then. I'm like, don't BS me.
So they're BSing you at that point.
Yeah, at that point in time, I knew the guy didn't want to put that in there. And I know that my password is difficult. So I am willing to sit down and enter it in, because he's got a lot to do. And then, of course, more appointments after that. So if I'm going to stay with it, I'm going to give some of my own time. I was like, but don't try to BS me. The hardware doesn't work.
So where'd your interest come to wanting to do cybersecurity? I mean, what got you so, I guess you use the word geeked out on doing cybersecurity? I mean, it's a complex thing that it is. It's very complex.
Absolutely. It was. I remember I had the opportunity because, of course, when I was younger, I was doing restaurant management. I'd done DJ work and everything like that. But
which we'll get to. I want to talk about that later.
I had gotten the opportunity to go back to school, and I was looking, and of course, I like computers, and there's always a future with it. But the idea of cybersecurity, the going out there and helping protect something, it was at the time obviously blooming. It was opening up as a future,
right?
And it just seemed like a lot of fun. I mean, on the support side, you're going to be fixing things.
Right.
I don't see myself as a developer, coder, anything like sitting in that environment. But the security side, diving in and trying to figure out how something's working that way, and kind of that was the fascinating side.
So is it the reverse engineering type of thought about it? How you could reverse engineer
how do you
someone breaking into something?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's you want to go through and fortify it. I want to make sure that it's secure, and that's the game part.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so when you went to school, with the schooling for that, how much schooling is involved, and how much of it is really you tinkering around and figuring it out yourself? I mean, is it something like, people go to medical school, you have to pretty much know everything medically, or they, go to law school, you have to follow everything by the book, right?
Absolutely.
They say, word by the book. So now with obviously cybersecurity, I think you just get the foundation, and you pretty much have to kind of find your way. Is that it?
So school was just a bachelor's in information security,
right?
And going through there and touching on a lot of it, really. But again, that was great because as I got into it, there were many facets of information security to go into itself.
Right.
I mean, even if you were to watch a cop show, NCIS or anything like that, you see forensics. You see all the cool work they're doing to recover the data from a phone they found from a victim or something. Yeah, it doesn't really work like that. 45 minutes.
I was asking about the Hollywood side of it,
they're recovering data, call logs from a phone that was submerged in water, driven over, lit on fire.
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
So, but the reality is there, you're also making a lot of backups, obviously, because on the legal side, they've got to be able to recreate and be able to stand up and provide the opportunity for people to challenge their findings in the future if need be.
Sure.
So you're making loads and loads of copies and everything. And again, you may not be able to get anything out of something that, that's been destroyed. So I didn't see the excitement there. So I didn't go into forensics, where at one point I had thought I had. I would be interested in. Again, you kind of go through, and that's where you start looking at the different sides and possibilities within security itself.
Right.
So, and then after school, after I got my bachelor's, I kind of started working with different companies because, of course, you don't come out of school and immediately land a 6-figure job. Right?
No. Yeah, your feet wet.
Right. Work your way up. So I started working with T-Mobile, the tech support.
Yeah.
And then moved into Apple, which was a great opportunity. And, I really got a chance to work there. And I worked up and worked a lot with individuals who were unfortunately on the backside of having been compromised. And
so you're dealing with the victims mostly.
The victims there.
Yeah.
And that really fueled that need to do something, because you can empathize all you want. And I'm sorry and everything.
Yeah.
But in the end, when money has changed hands via, at the time, gift cards, and they've been redeemed.
Yeah, that was the big thing at one time.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And now you have Bitcoin, and they're still pulling the gift card, but Bitcoin and everything, like, once that money's gone, it's gone.
Right.
And there's, they may have some insurance or something, but people who are compromised, that was maybe their life savings, that they're a generation that would have reacted to somebody telling them, hey, we're the IRS and we have a warrant out, so you're going to pay me 15 grand in Apple gift cards. But, they still got God. So now that's where I really try and focus on the education side, because, hey, they don't know what they don't know. So somebody's got to teach them and provide that opportunity to gain that knowledge.
That's always the biggest stumbling block. When I was in law enforcement, one of the biggest things that I came up against in the detective world was you dealing with a lot of these cyber crimes and where people get taken for $30,000, $90,000. I had somebody, but to try and follow that trail, there was a trail that 100 trails, and that 100 trails had another 100 trails. And I mean, I even worked with Interpol one time, and it was to a dead end most of the time. It was almost impossible to find where this all originated and who was actually committing the crime.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and it was the most frustrating part because you like you said, you feel bad for these people. And I myself may be a victim. You know, and actually I was. My debit card was hacked one time years ago. Thankfully, the person used it in LA to buy themselves a McDonald's dinner.
Good.
And luckily my bank caught that, called me, and I was not in LA. I was in Las Vegas at the time, actually at the Las Vegas airport. So I could not have been in LA to buy that. So for me, I was taken for $6 or $10, whatever it was, but someone for $90,000, and that was their savings.
Yeah. Absolutely. That unfortunately is commonplace. I don't know how many times I've run into people who, I was at this, maybe a 7-Eleven or a gas station, and they used a credit card reader to buy something. And there's a card reader on it, or the gas pumps, and they got the card readers there. And then a week later, they're buying something, or they got money that's being just siphoned off.
Right.
And that's where I kind of tell them, I was like, you know what? It's to the point where if you're going to go out and use a card, use a credit card, set up one card that you use to go out
and just use that one
and just
card.
use that, because they're going to take and they're going to hit a credit card company. That money is insured. That card is insured, is protected.
Right.
You know, they could go through and fight the charges. However, when the money is pulled from your checking account, they're actually getting your money, and there's a lot less motivation. The bank's going to do what they can do.
They are, yeah.
But, if you look at it, a credit card company wants that money back.
They do.
They've got a lot more motivation.
They don't want to keep spending that money. And I know that at the time, I dealt with this going years ago, I dealt with Bank of America, and they weren't investigating themselves anything over $30,000.
Really?
$30,000.
Wow.
That was the threshold. I almost was in shock because they were like, no, we're just going to pay it out. We're not going to worry about it unless it, and that was what their security manager of their fraud said to me when I was investigating this one. And I think it was for like 15 grand. And they're like, no, we're going to pay the 15,000 back, and we don't worry anything over 30,000. And that tells me that they're getting hit with a lot of them under that. They don't have the personnel or the time to follow up themselves on this. So they just rather pay it out.
And I could almost see it because, like you had mentioned before with detective work, you'd follow leads and going down one path after another. What's the cost of manpower, hardware, time to recover that 15? So
and they all have a limit on that. They all say, okay, here's our limits. It's almost like going to a store. They say, well, we're not going to prosecute over $500 worth of, items being stolen. We're not going to prosecute over $1,000, like LA had. You had to be over $956 if you shoplifted. So things like that, do you want to write it off?
An acceptable loss. I could see it. That's crazy. I never, it makes sense, but I never would have thought about it.
Yeah, I know in dealing with Walmart one time, one particular store, and they told me they have what they call a shrinkage. I think that was the term they gave me.
Yeah.
That they pretty much write off losses up to $2 million in stolen goods. They don't worry about it. They write that into their budget, that they're expecting that this is their shrinkage. This is the budget they had for the year.
Yeah.
So they plan on losing $2 million worth of goods over the course of a year, and that's built into their budget. So it's really not a loss for them because they covered that already in the budget.
I could see it because in fast food, when I was with fast food, we had not loss for theft, but spoiled
bad product or spoiled product, maybe
crossed its time. So we'd have food that was prepped and ready for lunch rushes, whatever. Once it got past a certain holding time,
sure,
you chuck it so that customer is still getting fresh food. You don't want the hockey puck. So it makes sense because you'd have that acceptable number for waste.
Right.
So that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
They do. Everybody's got some sort of threshold. It's almost like you break it down to somebody has their own house. Okay, so and I've seen this also where someone says, well, someone stole something from my front yard, but it wasn't really worth much. So I'm not going to worry about it. So I don't want to do a police report on it.
Yeah.
So everybody has their threshold, and, one neighbor might find an old bike that was stolen from their front yard as being, well, I want that reported, even though the bike was only worth $5. The next door neighbor has the same type of bike, says, I don't care if it's $5, let them have it. Actually saved me going to the dump. So everybody's got their threshold, I guess. If you look at it, bang stores, whatever it may be. I mean, if you're big enough, then you're big enough to cover the cost. But unfortunately, the victims like you've dealt with and like I've dealt with, they're losing their life savings.
Yes. They don't have that acceptable loss. This is something that's deeply affecting them. The money coming out that they've counted on for retirement or that they are living off of, to make ends meet.
So are seniors the most targeted group, do you think? Is that what you're finding, or is it across the board?
I would say seniors are definitely an easier target.
Okay.
Because you look at the different generational gap. If somebody were to call you and me up and say, the IRS has got a warrant out for you.
I'd laugh.
Right.
Come get me.
What? Okay. What? Oh, you're calling me? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But, generations ago,
sure,
the IRS was much more feared. And somebody's going to react real quick if they hear the IRS.
Yeah.
I've actually personally received a call where somebody told me that they had my son.
I've seen calls. I've taken calls like that.
And at first, there's the parent, there's the papa bear that just, what, I'm seeing red, and then you got a million thoughts that are running through right there in that moment. For me, I just stopped, looked around the corner. Both of my boys are sitting there playing Call of Duty. All right. Okay. It's a scam.
Right.
And but at that moment, again, that's a scammer, whether it's on email or on the phone, they're playing on your emotion. Right now, we've got earthquakes that are popping up all over the place.
Right.
It's perfect prime time for scammers to send you an email and ask you to donate to
some sort of relief fund.
What relief fund for any number of these places. And they'll splash some pictures in the email and you'll feel sorry for them. You'll click the link. Maybe it's a genuine link and you're going to donate money. It's not going to the victims. It's just going to their pockets. Maybe, again, you click the link and you've bypassed the firewalls and everything. You've clicked the link and started the download, or you've installed it, whatever. So they've utilized your emotions to bypass the hardware.
So is it more dangerous with your laptop, or is it more dangerous with your iPhone or your phone, your mobile phone, when you get these links or you get these things sent in a text? Like I get these texts all the time saying, and it's a link.
Absolutely, yeah.
So as soon as you click on that link on your phone, you've already given them permission at that point?
Well, you don't know what the link is for. They could be trying to install something, or they could just simply be opening something up that they want to prompt you to log in with.
Got it.
So it depends. The delivery is the text message. The payload is whatever their attack is, however they choose to go at you.
So my rule has always been, if I don't recognize it, I delete it.
Exactly.
I mean, I do. I did it with my bank. My bank that I work with one of my credit cards. They call me constantly. I'd say about once a month to double check to make sure that these charges were okay. They do it routinely. It's almost a pain in the butt sometimes, but they'll actually do that where they'll say, you need to approve these 3 charges. They don't look right to us, and I appreciate it, as much as it could be a pain in the butt.
It's a pain in the butt, but it's a heck of a lot better than having to deal with the alternative.
No, absolutely.
I do the same thing.
Absolutely. So they're always on the ball with that. So I actually deleted one text from them because they send a text too saying, this is your bank, fraud alert. You need to call this number, and I'll hit delete.
Yes.
Now, when I do that and I don't respond right away, they actually call me via phone. And then I'll see the 800 number that they give, the toll-free number, and I'll call it and it'll actually be the actual bank. I can tell that this is not, but I'll delete them. I mean, I'm so delete happy now, afraid of getting scammed, that if I don't recognize your number, delete.
Absolutely. I do the exact same thing. And that's, unfortunately, it's the downside of that is that being a business owner here in Vegas, obviously I'm going to get some wild numbers. Not everybody, people with cell phones, I still have a number from Colorado Springs. I have the effort to go in and change it over to a Vegas number.
It's just not.
It's not needed. I don't have to worry about long distance or anything like that now. It's for me to switch over. It would be more just to look like I'm from Vegas.
Are you getting those calls like I do, where I'm getting approved for a loan constantly? Do you get those loan calls?
No, right now I still get a load of we're calling about your Corolla. I'm like, get out of here, not Corolla. So they're calling about my Corolla or my property for sale, wherever,
Right.
and I'll have fun with them sometimes because I'll answer it. I don't know if it's a legitimate call or, sometimes the system will say spam.
So I heard that if you answer the phone, don't say either your name or what is it? I mean, they can grab your voice and use that.
Well, they can do that off social media.
Okay.
And that's where AI has gone in and made
Oh,
things
so they can grab it off your
more.
social account.
So much more that several months ago, somebody had gone in and in politics, they had taken the politician's face,
Right.
voice, and were able to get private documents
No kidding.
because they used fake AI to fake him.
So they cloned him,
They
basically.
cloned him.
Yeah.
And they called up somebody and they couldn't tell. So that's where I suggest now have a safe word. Within my family, we've always had a safe word.
Right.
But now it's still pertinent because I could get a call up from one of my kids and they could be like, "Oh, I'm in a car accident or something's gone wrong. I need money. Can you send me money?" Okay, what's the password?
That's pretty cool. I mean, you think about that. I mean, it in today's world, like you said, if somebody, what's the safe word? Because that's going to bypass if you're being scammed or not, with somebody using your son's voice or his face from social media. I mean, I never thought about that. That's actually, that's actually good practice if you think about it.
Absolutely. You can, another one of the kind of same idea. They're doing scams where they'll call you or text you. We have your sister, we have your daughter or something.
Right.
And they've used AI to take a picture that they got off of Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And they just set up the prompt to have her tied up, maybe bruised up a little bit,
right,
in the back of a van. And they send you the picture. And it's like, if you ever want to see her again, pay money.
Wow.
So, and again, that's all AI. Nobody's done anything, but the human side of that, obviously you're going to protect your loved ones. So
right.
That's where you got to trust but verify, have that password and just take that extra step, stop and think about it. The worst one is always going to be when they play on your emotions.
Right.
Because you're going to want to react right away.
So now we'll get into the whole thing about family safety. I know that you and your wife and having conversations with you, and it was really fascinating though, how much you guys tactically train together.
Absolutely.
You do tactical training courses and then you actually practice this at home.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because my wife is 100% service disabled veteran. So she's prior military and she's very proud of it. And someone who has really been invested in going out and training and everything. So between her and I, we've always been a fantastic team together. So, even teaching the kids how to shoot, we started them off with Nerf, moved them up to an airsoft BB gun until finally taking them out to the range and firing live ammunition. And fortunately, that they were given the opportunity so that guns or anything like that was always there. And they always had access to it. And they always knew that all they had to do was just ask to see it. I didn't have to worry about somebody touching anything or anything like that because it was a very open, very, very knowledgeable environment for them growing up.
Right.
And with that, they knew that in the event that something happened, me and mom, we had a plan of a attack on what to do, whether it was fires when we lived in Colorado or anything like that. My wife and I were actually in Maui when Lahaina was on fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, and thankfully it was just her and I, but that was a crazy situation. But for us, adrenaline kicks in. We kind of stop and think, all right, what do we need to do here? And we were able to find a place that we could get food. The hotel we were at, just no power.
Right.
But we were like, you know what? We've got 4 walls, running water. Let's hunker down.
Sure.
So we played Sudoku, or I played Sudoku and gin rummy for a week. It survived off of canned tuna and canned chili. Chef Boyardee.
Wow.
We were we got off Water Street maybe 15 minutes before people had to start jumping into water. But we did good. And in the lobby, yeah, that's where people kind of gathered because they had
Right.
some power there, emergency power to keep, I guess, medicines secure or refrigerated maybe, but they had some power generators down there. Of course, they still had elevators running and everything.
Sure.
And they had stations so that they can go charge phones. Now, and again, because we have that presence of mind to stay a little, I have little solar chargers. So I would just set the phone out there and charge it. We had no signal, no service.
Right. But at least the phone was
But
being charged and
it
you had
was
something there. Yeah.
exactly. You every now and then you can go to the water's edge, and right from where we were, you'd look across to I can't remember the Lanai, and maybe you can get a bar. And as soon as I get a bar, I'd maybe try and place a call and let the kids know,
Right.
hey, we're good. We're just chilling. You know.
So being there when the fire, so you were there when the fire happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, what was that? What did that look like from your perspective? I mean, I was there after it. I got to see we went to Maui. We saw all the burned out areas. We saw the streets blocked off by security. You couldn't get up them, even people who lived there. But I mean, so I couldn't, I was there for the aftermath. You were there for it happening. Yeah. What did that look like from your perspective, looking at those fires and the smoke and everything? Did you think it was going to be something put out right away, or is it something that?
Well, unfortunately, it had that first day, of course, power had gone out. We still had service. So I kind of followed it. And that's where we had made the decision. All right, hey, let's go and grab food.
Right.
Because we're here for the weekend. It was our third day that it started. So we had the full
So your
week.
instincts knew that you had to get food.
Yeah. I figured, even if things calm down and this blows over in the day, well, I'll have food while I'm here.
Yeah, sure.
But I knew that I needed to get food. So we went and made that food run. And that's what got us into Lahaina. We ran into the store, ran back out. By the time we got in and out, and we were quick, things had drastically decreased.
That fast. Huh?
That fast. So we went in and it was just windy. There was debris everywhere. But after we came out, that's when there was smoke everywhere. The top of one of the buildings had blown off and landed on some cars beside us. We're like, all right, we got to get the hell out of here. So we loaded up in the car and tried to get out, and police were withholding people from getting out. And that's some of the crazy things that we saw.
So why were they withholding people from getting out?
I couldn't tell you. I've seen hundreds of conspiracy theories on it.
I mean, were they telling you just to shelter in place? Is that pretty much what they were saying?
I don't know. And that was on like Water Street, trying to get out of there, or Front Street, whatever it was, But yeah, he was there, and I was like, you know what? At this point in time, it's better to sit in the cell or whatever than to stay right here. So we and a bunch of others just drove right past the cops and went back to the hotel and figured, we'll wait here.
And that was wow. That's it.
And fortunately, it had stopped where it did, because we were right up the road, just minutes up the road from that. So we stayed kind of ready just in case we had to bug out again. But yeah, we just laid up in a room and played gin rummy. And
so it goes to that comes from your tactical minded thinking, which is,
yeah,
you never know when something's going to happen until it happens to you. And you and your wife have a plan in your heads, because you're both constantly rehearsing. If something goes wrong, these are the things we need to gather first, and these are the things we need to focus on first.
Yeah.
Whether we're on vacation or whether we're home or whether we're shopping in a store.
Exactly. What's the next 3 steps?
Right.
People kind of joke around with the people, the type that your back's against the wall, the exits, that's been our dynamic. And we're a fantastic team. My wife and I, we just merged perfectly. And that's been the funny part with us, that, we're best friends and we work well together.
That's great.
So, there, and like I was talking, in the lobby, you had all the people going down there to charge. That's where tension started to rise. People trying to charge their phone. And
frustration setting in, and
I need coffee. Unfortunately,
that'd be me. I need coffee. That would be,
and people would bring down kettles or rice cookers, and try and cook it. And they're like, well, you can't do that. This is, we're trying to charge phones or maybe medical devices or batteries, whatever. But these devices like a coffee maker or a rice cooker, they'd overload it or flip a circuit or something. So people were, like I said, tensions were rising. And we were so grateful for the staff, because the staff that were working, they lived in Lahaina.
Right.
Their homes were gone. Thankfully, they had their families there with them. and that's hopefully, because I imagine some of them probably didn't. So they were worried. They were stuck there just like we were, but they continued to work, and they were fantastic.
That's amazing.
I jumped one lady because she was going off on the poor lady behind the desk about a refund.
During the middle of a fire?
During the middle of a fire.
The first thing you think of is, I need a refund. Oh,
call your manager.
That's like a plane going down and saying, you know what? I need customer service for the airline. Do I get a free upgrade next time? I mean, what are people thinking?
Yeah. And I could not believe that she was losing her mind with a poor woman who's lost her home. So, and we made the decision that, all right, I'll go down once or twice a day for a status update to see if there was any information, because everything was closed. From there was 2 roads to the other side of the island.
I know. I've driven up. That was it. You only have 2 ways. That's all you got.
And the north was closed.
Yeah.
Obviously, going back through Lahaina, that was closed. So we were stuck. So we try and get update on information, but I'd stay away from there because that's where panic is. And that's where things are going to get crazy. Things are going to get stupid.
And I don't think people do enough mental prep. I mean, it's one thing to do practical prep, which is going out there and actually going through the moves. But I think, in my opinion, you could tell me what you think, that mental preparation is probably bigger than anything.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's mental prep. That's why I have, jumper cables in a car, or, in Colorado, we had, we used to carry a go bag in the car, which was blankets, sweats, stuff like that. Because you never know if you're going to be going through a pass.
I have one. Yeah. I have a go bag. Yeah. I mean,
so you never know what's going to happen. You just want to be ready. You want to have that contingency planning, so, and that's what's led my wife and I to do this tactical training that we do now.
Right.
Because we've always loved going to the range and talking about and prep. We've got things set up at home with emergency food and everything. I wouldn't say that we're too off the wall where we've got a whole.
You're not really prepping. You're with those preppers. I mean, it's you're prepared.
Prepared
doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with being a prepper. I mean, I've met quite a few, and I applaud them for their dedication and their ability to do all that. But you don't need to go that far.
Exactly. Something happens, you need to be prepared.
Yeah.
That for several days you're going to be cut off, and there's not going to be any trips to Smith's or Vaughn's or anybody like that. You're going to be living off of what you have.
Right.
So we've taken those steps.
It makes you wonder how many people really are prepared. If because they're, like you said, we all live in our comfort zone.
Yep.
All in little bubbles, right? And we always think that this is not going to happen to me. Well, I'm not going to be involved in it. Like you were on vacation. Next thing you know, you're in the middle of one of the biggest fires that has happened.
It's crazy.
And you're on an island, which makes it even worse, right? It's one thing to be in a fire somewhere where you can go somewhere else, but you're on an island. That mental preparation kicks in, and then you see it all around you, those who did not mentally prepare. And that's the scariest part.
Absolutely.
Because nothing more dangerous than having majority of people not prepared for something, and now panic creates the bigger situation.
And that's where you kind of keep an eye out, because that panic, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
People are going to go crazy because they're protecting themselves, protecting loved ones. I know that I'm going to move mountains and hills if my children were in danger. So I can understand it. I'd rather not be in that situation. So I try and think 3 or 4 steps ahead and have that foresight,
Right.
So yeah. And then with the trainings and everything, sometimes something happens where maybe you've got to defend yourself or be prepared for things that do get crazy. How are you going to handle that? What are you going to do?
And that's where I think the mental part comes in, because you can go through a lot of emotions on things, which is you can sit there and take, you can go to a gun range and shoot at a paper target all the time. But unless you're working through something tactically in your mind and you come to an agreement with yourself, if this really happens, will I be able to do exactly what I'm training for now?
Exactly.
Because otherwise, all that training is for naught, because you mentally haven't gotten there yet. You physically have. You can point, shoot, put bullets on the paper in the small bullseye. That's great, that takes skill in itself. But now you have the other part, which is what if it really does happen?
Yeah, and there's so much more that goes into that, because as we all have gone out to the range, and like you said, you're putting bullets on paper.
Right.
A paper isn't moving.
No.
The paper isn't yelling, shouting, or pointing anything back at you.
Exactly.
You know, there's nothing on the other. If you're in a proper range, there's nothing on the other side of that. Or I
Right.
should say, nobody. You know, hopefully there's a berm or there's a proper structure there that's going to stop it from hurting somebody beyond that piece of paper.
Right.
You know, and that's some of the mental prep. So with the tactical training that we've been able to experience now, it's great because it allows us to move. So as opposed to standing still,
Right.
you're going to be moving side to side. You're going to have a target that's moving, or maybe it's not a situation where you should be firing at all. You know, maybe it's just, and that's what I do love about, Nevada, you know, they have the opportunity where you can announce it, and the
Right.
attacker can change their mind and say, never mind, I'm out of here.
Exactly.
This is somebody who's prepared.
Right.
And God willing, that's just the case. You don't ever have to go to that next step. But again, that mental prep, what if you do? And are you going to move around? They're not going to stand around for you.
Certainly not.
So what's going to happen? And I was laughing because with the course that we're at now, of course the adrenaline's going because you're doing this in front of people and everything.
Right.
And it's a system where, it's like a big movie screen and you're using this light gun or laser gun or whatever.
Right.
But I walk up and the scenario is I'm getting home. My wife is inside making dinner and the guy's trying to break in the back door. Hey, what are you doing there? And the guy turns around and, the funny part is as I'm expecting him to draw his weapon, because that's where I'm at. I'm learning how to do it. The guy drops his weapon and then runs off because he got scared.
Right.
So I was like, wait a minute. This is going to be a little bit more in depth of a training to stop you from, I'm going to go full of Call of Duty.
Exactly. Yeah.
Real life where maybe the guy's trying to break in, but he's not armed. He's not willing to go to that level, and he's going to take off running. Fine, he's gone. You foiled it. Perfect.
Right.
And then we reran it, and this time where I'm expecting the guy to drop his weapon, the guy drew his weapon and went to fire. And I was, oh wait, okay, this is not like a video game. This is they're gonna change it.
You gotta switch it up a bit.
So I returned fire and I took the target down and everything like that. And then we did kind of post-mortem, and that's when they're like, well, you should be moving. Because as I'm thinking about it, I'm firing at this target that's right there in front of me.
Right.
And the guy's asking me, well, that's the door right there. What's on the other side of him in that door? It's your wife right there and making dinner, setting the table, whatever. So move, you got to make this, you got to be ready to move so that you can have that foresight of what's beyond what I'm shooting at. So that it's really kind of in depth and interesting.
That's pretty cool.
And of course, that you dive in some of the mechanics of drawing your weapon and firing, tactical reloads, and everything like that. But it is much more in depth than to just go Call of Duty on somebody.
It is, and I always tell people, the number one place you're protecting is your home. Okay, so with that, learn your home.
Absolutely.
I go into other people's homes and they don't know their homes. I don't say they don't know their homes, like that they can't get up in the middle of the night and know where their kitchen is, but know where the advantages and disadvantages are. Know where they are. And how would you move about if you heard something that sounded like someone was rattling the door handle or came into the kitchen? I've come into my out many times. I mean, it's not through paranoia from having been on a job at one time. It is pretty much because I think I've gone through enough tactical training and I've done enough practical tactical training in my own home to understand that, okay, what are my advantages and disadvantages here? And I don't think enough people do enough of that in their own home, much less walking into a restaurant or walking into a store or being at a concert, whatever it may be, knowing where your ingress and egress opportunities are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and that you're right in the, practical tactical. I like that. But in the home, I've got the home field advantage.
Yeah.
I know where the end tables are. I've probably broken my toe on it enough to know where they are. So, and if you hear that familiar sound of somebody kicking that table, now you know where somebody is.
Sure.
And it's a good idea not to turn the lights on.
Sure.
take that moment to assess the situation. Are they trying the door handle? Are they actually going to try and kick a door in? You got time. Call 911.
Right.
Take those steps to prep and be ready. But you've got the home field advantage all the way.
You always say, don't turn your lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Why light up their path for them? Because
Exactly.
they don't know the diagram of your house. So I do. I know my diagram. Like you said, I've stubbed my
Inside
toe
and
enough.
out.
I could walk around my house in the dark. For me, no problem. So they can't.
They can't.
So if they hear me moving, they don't know where to move to next. I know where to move to next. So I always tell people, don't put the lights on. All you're doing is lighting up the advantage for them now, because now they can see where the next turn in the hallway is, the next room is, or what's blocking their way.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly where my dog bowl is
Yep.
in the middle of the dark, so I don't trip over it.
Absolutely. And then we all know that those spots that are perfect.
Yeah.
That give you the visibility. And unfortunately for me, I have that so that if something were to happen, I have full visibility of the front door and the downstairs, but they'd have to get past me.
Right.
And there's no other way up except for past me. So I have full visibility right there.
Right.
And again, you just take that time, because if they're going to grab a TV and go, okay. But if they're going to try and hurt somebody or anything like that, that's where you have to take it to that next level.
Exactly.
And be ready for that. And fortunately, you like you said, the home field advantage, you can shout out and scare the hell out of them. Hopefully they take off and run, and that's that.
Exactly. And so for that, I tell people, hey, listen, you know your home, know the outside of your home.
Yes.
Don't just know your home because you walk in, where to throw your keys and you know where to grab something out of the refrigerator. Know your home as far as, if I have to move around my house in the dark and there's someone that might be in here too, what am I going to do? Where am I going to be sitting at? Like you said, where's going to be my advantage where I can watch everything, where I'm not in danger, my family's not in danger. But at the same time, I now have a view of the playing field in the dark to buy time for someone to make the phone call to 911, or to get something out to prepare themselves to defend themselves, whether it be a wife or an older family child who can handle a firearm, or something that knows where it's at that can get it, or even a baseball bat, or even a knife, whatever it may be, or a can of OC spray. Whatever it is, you'll have something ready to go, but have that advantage in your house for the most part.
Absolutely.
So,
and then of course, lighting on the outside. Leave it dark on the inside.
That's it.
And then have some sort of lighting on the outside.
Good point. Good point. You're right.
And I know the dark spots, the spots that I like to have light, but I can add solar lighting or whatever. But even with that, because of the way the sun is, maybe it's not the brightest. Whatever.
Right.
So I know those spots.
Yeah, exactly.
And for example, that's why I have a rule. My wife doesn't take out the trash. It's just one of those safety things. No, I'll do that, because that's by one of those areas, one of those spots, a low wall. Somebody could be hiding on that at the neighbor's yard. Yeah, I'll take care of that.
So so basically what you've done in cybersecurity carries over into actual real life security, as far as in person at your home or out and about with your family. That all seems to reinforce itself between the two worlds, whether it be the cyber world and so forth. Obviously Hollywood makes things look different. Like, I'm sure it frustrates you sometimes when you watch. I'm trying to think of some movie. Did you ever see The Accountant?
Yeah.
With Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck, yeah.
So in that, where he has that one woman pulling everything up on the computers. What's your thoughts on that? How is it that easy? Is it that? Could someone really...
it's that easy if you have the roadmap and you know where the files are, sure.
Right.
Know all the passwords and you don't have to do two-factor authentication.
Yeah. They were going into people's laptops and getting their photos and figuring out where their house was and tapping into their Wi-Fi. It was just within like minutes.
There's going to be situations where that's possible.
Right.
But that's because of poor prior planning on the other side right there.
Right.
Maybe their Wi-Fi at home is open, or they've got passwords.
Right.
So there's possibilities. Within minutes, no.
Right.
And you've got to be in a situation to where you can go in and gather information to to get onto those networks or anything
Right.
like that. You're going to be going through and breaching firewalls, and you got to find a way into it. So that's where it loses it for me. I mean, look at Nevada's hack
Right.
last year, was it already? How did they get in? And of course, the
So
thing
what was
with
your
that,
thoughts on that one? I mean, that was a big deal.
yeah,
How did they get in?
I never really got too much information on it other than, what that they had got in. Of course, they said that nothing was really affected. Now, the thing I told everybody about that is that when somebody's breached, of course, they're not going to announce it.
Right.
The attackers are going to be in there for a length of time, say 90 days.
Right.
They're going to be in there and gather what they can. And on the way out, fire off encryption, a Trojan, whatever it is, covers the tracks. And then, hey, if somebody pays to recover it, extra money. But
Right.
on the end, they can't go in there because the systems are locked. You were talking earlier about trying to investigate and going down different paths.
Right.
It's kind of hard to look down the path if everything's locked up.
Got it.
If there's no trail or anything, if it's all encrypted.
Right.
So at that point in time, you've been got. It's done and over with. So
once they get in, you've been got. It's just a matter of how much.
once you find out,
Once you find out, you've been got. So not even once they get in. Once you find out about it, they've already been in there.
Absolutely. There was a case study I had looked at not too long ago where a smaller company, the attackers got in and just camped out in their email. He was looking at traffic going back and forth.
Right.
CEO went on vacation. And while the CEO was gone, they sent an email to accounting or whoever and said, I am looking at a property. I need to purchase this. I need the routing number and bank account number now. And of course, he's the CEO. He's reaching out. You're gonna jump. You're gonna move.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if I remember right, the attacker walked away with about $3 million on that one.
$3 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's it. They just camped out and waited for the opportunity.
So now they got the $3 million. Did you hear any follow up on that? Did they find out? Did they get it? Did they get the $3 million? I mean, it's just they're able to take that money now and move it around.
But yeah, at that point in time, if it goes to Bitcoin or anything, it's gone.
Wow.
So, and if I remember right, that one's still being investigated. So who knows what can happen on that one? Maybe somebody makes a mistake, or like I said, it just turns into one of those cold cases that sit there and nothing happens.
Which a lot of them do.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's so high profile.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you find out that you've been hacked by a teenager in somebody's basement or something like that. And hey, fantastic. They're able to get a hold of the attackers there.
Right.
Or you get maybe you get a cyber group who claims responsibility for it. You still got to vet that, they're not just trying to get the popularity from it,
right.
but you have that possibility as well.
So on those cyber groups now, are there quite a bit of those actual groups out there, these mega cyber groups, or is it just not?
I don't know how many, but there's quite a few out there.
Quite a few. They're actually groups of people that this is what they do, and they get to link up together, and they're almost like a terrorist cell of cyber.
Absolutely. Well, and again, you look at that when you go into the different type of hackers, you've got enemy states, you got, like I said, hacktivists, eco-terrorists,
right?
Actual cyber terrorists. So depends on their end game. Maybe they just want financial gain. Maybe they're looking to destabilize governments and bring down.
So they all have their own little special cyber team linked up with whatever group they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
there's a country that after Vietnam era, they didn't want to go capitalism. They didn't want to go communism.
Right.
So they went to crime, and that became their economic system.
That was their thing, yeah.
And now, decades later, it's no longer this, money laundering or anything, but now it's escalated to cybercrime, and their thriving economy because it's based off of crime.
Right.
And that's the country's economy.
That's insane.
And again, that's, something that we would have to watch out for because they want to take our money or anything.
Right.
Now, that's where the problem is because from law enforcement, if you find out that the criminal itself is somebody in a different country, where does jurisdiction lie?
Yeah, and that trail becomes harder. It really does. It just gets to be, and that's why a lot of foreign criminals then prey on other countries because they know it's harder to track back to them unless it's so high profile that the countries are willing to get together and link up and do something about it.
Exactly.
And that's how they get away with it most of the time,
Yeah.
because they keep it small enough.
It's the acceptable loss that you were talking about.
That's it. The acceptable loss.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so let's now, in your vault of your own personal stuff,
Yeah.
aside from the cyber and all the tactical and practical and mental training and going to school, you had your own DJ business.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Which also had a little bit of an obstacle to it, because a little bit of the
I had a DJ karaoke company, and it was fantastic at the time because I was young. Perfect time for him to be out in the clubs and the bar scene and going out, and you had the energy to do it. Now, no way.
yeah, you're not late at night or clubs.
Late at
Sure.
night, no. So that was a fantastic opportunity. It's just to be out there and doing the clubbing scene, being at the DJ booth and meeting all sorts of fantastic people.
Right.
Yeah.
And running your own business.
Running my own business, yes.
You know,
it was, I think that was the first business I ever started, was the karaoke DJ and karaoke company. Yeah.
wow.
So,
and you also did some singing with that.
I did.
I'll put you on the spot. You did some singing.
So well, obviously with the karaoke side, I started getting deeper into singing because I've also been a musician, played stand-up bass, moved over to bass guitar and stuff like that. Did choir for a little bit, in school.
Right.
So with the karaoke side, I enjoyed getting the opportunity to get out there and really practice and play song, sing along and have some fun. And that escalated to me actually singing for different charity organizations and everything, and have sung several places across the country.
That's great.
And just had fun with that.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, the singing career kind of, and I wouldn't even say a career, but just the show ended right there when I had found out, by way of going in to get teeth cleaning at the dentist office, there was a spot. And they sent me in, or they asked me to come back after about a month or so, and they remeasured the spot. And the dentist, he's like, "Yeah, we need to get that checked out," and sent me to another doctor the very next day. And he biopsied that, and unfortunately, it turned out to be mouth cancer. And at the time, I smoked, a regular smoker, and I was like, "Well, it's cigarettes,
like regular cigarettes." And
the doctor, he'd say, "I'd love to say yes, but no."
Right.
It was just some wild form of cancer. He said it was common in patients much older. So
wow, okay,
just wild. But they ended up removing the entire floor of the mouth. So at that point in time, I had to really kind of retrain myself to speak, just because I sounded, I was like extremely tongue tied, very tight. And so now I really have to enunciate the words. And even if I'm talking a lot, especially like networking functions or anything, by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. And even when I try and sing, maybe going out doing some karaoke now, I'll get through a couple of songs. By the end of maybe the second song, I can feel it tired.
So how many lymph nodes did they remove?
So after the floor of the mouth, they also slit the throat open and removed 20 lymph nodes.
20 lymph nodes.
Thankfully, that was to make sure that the cancer didn't spread into the throat.
Wow.
And that came back negative. So it stayed localized right there in the mouth. And next year will be 10 years cancer free. So
congratulations. That's great. That's awesome. But but obviously, you're having a business, you're started and you're relying on making money at it. And all of a sudden that steps in the way of what you're doing now, because you rely as a DJ and doing the singing, you're relying on your throat. I mean, your mouth to talk and sing. And then you don't want it to affect your throat, but then you had to overcome that, and you have all these worries of, okay, what if this cancer spreads, and what can I do? And at that time, did you rethink yourself? Did you say, okay, I need to get into doing other things, or what made you kind of switch directions in a way? Or
no, I had that thought. I'm driving home because the doctor called me up and he's like, "I need to see you."
Right.
And at that point in time, okay, it's going to be cancer.
Right. It's not going to be good.
So it's not going to be good at all. So I went in, talked to the doctor. He gave me the news, and I was kind of driving home and just kind of thinking about that. It's like, okay, well, what's the next step? What's the worst case scenario?
Sure, of course.
Kind of go through that. And I kind of thought to myself, I was like, screw it. Whatever happens, happens. Fuck it. And I apologize for language, but I was like, fuck cancer. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do whatever the hell I want.
Right.
And that was it. I didn't worry about it.
That was it, huh?
That was,
Good for
I
you.
never cared about it again. I went, the doctors provided what their recommendations were. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And thankfully it was, just excising it. So they cut it out. There was no chemotherapy or anything like that.
Right.
And it's been closely monitoring it since then. And, I had quit smoking. I'll enjoy a cigar every now and
Right.
then, but
Right.
we quit smoking, both my wife and I, and just kind of take a look at that. And we're like, all right, that's one thing that it's against our health. So we'll cut it out.
Right.
We'll be healthier for it.
But it doesn't slow you down.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So,
like even doing the podcast now, do you feel like when you're talking, as long as we have that, does it get tiring? Does it get harder?
so it can, yeah, tends to dry out, like my dry mouth or anything like that, because
Got it.
as we're talking or something, it gets a little tiring. But, and it kind of just depends on how loud I am too, So
Oh, the loudness too.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if we were at one of Bobby Con's events,
Right.
we're there at the cast bar and we're talking over the music. We're talking over a dozen other people in the room, that affects me more than you and I sitting here in the vault and able to talk more
Makes sense.
calm and relaxed.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So,
No, that's crazy. I mean, it's, people always, everybody has some sort of obstacle somewhere, but for you, it just never slowed you down. It kept you kept motivated. Like you said, fuck cancer, right?
exactly.
And you kept going with what you're going to do. And you don't worry about it. Like you said, whatever's going to happen is going to happen because you just still want to move forward.
Absolutely. I knew that anything that did come my way was going to come my way on that. I
Right.
can do what I can do. And you know what, they say when it's your time, it's your time. So make the best of the time you have.
Sure.
So we did what we did with the kids. We went out camping. We had fun. I had lost my father actually at 49. He was 49.
He was
when he
49,
passed.
young.
Yeah, he was very young. I was 20, 21, 22 at the time. My son had just been born.
Right.
So, you kind of, I looked at that. I looked at the relationship I had with my father, and again, you got the time you got that you have.
Sure.
So we just had fun. I still try and play games with the kids. They're spread out. I have my oldest, and between my wife and I, we have 3 children.
Right.
One is biologically mine. The other 2 are stepchildren. But they got together so early on in age that they are my children.
Right.
So, but they're spread out. So I have the oldest. She is married to a young airman down in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And then the middle boy, my biological son, he's actually up in Reno. He just finished up training for drywalling. He's gotten certification as a welder. So he's up there, and he actually just got
Great to be in a trade.
yeah, absolutely.
Trades is where you make money.
I was happy too, because he came to me and he did the Department of Labor route.
Right.
So all the schools and everything that he did, I didn't have to pay for. So
way to go.
Thankfully, 3 out the door. We didn't pay for college for any of them because they had chosen a different route as opposed to universities or colleges or anything. But and then of course my youngest, he is a underwater certified welder, but he actually just passed his 1-year anniversary as a police officer down in South Carolina.
That's great.
So
congratulations to him on that.
Thank you very much. We are proud of all of them. They have their lives. They're doing fantastic. We have a group family text, and we all send funny memes, and
that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Stay in contact. Saturdays or Sundays, we'll try and get together and jump on and play Fortnite or something. So we're all gaming, and it's fantastic. I love that about games. And we can all jump on. We're all sitting on a headset talking.
Right.
And, and everybody will get involved. So even if they're not playing, like my wife, she's not a gamer.
Sure.
But she will, so we'll chat through a Discord chat, the family Discord. So everybody's on chat, everybody's talking with each other.
That's great.
It may not be family dinner, that maybe people grew up with on a Sunday, but we got our games. We got our chat.
But you're doing something. It's like the old game night when you grew up.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Game nights with the family.
We had pizza game night.
Yeah. So even if you're separated, there's ways to bring yourselves together.
Exactly.
And have that night for yourselves. And that's awesome. That's great. That's great to hear.
So we still have fun with that. And it's a riot. But for me, I wanted to ensure that I still had that connection. Like I said, for my father and I, he passed early on.
Right.
But even then, while we were close and everything, I don't think we actually got close until just before he passed. And, that is the way it is. But okay, well, I'm going to make a difference from it, make a difference for my kids.
Because we don't realize that when you're young, and I saw something about this, it's when you're young, you don't get close to your parents for the most part because you know it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know it all. They're all crazy, and they don't. They always stop you from doing something. So isn't until you're in your 20s that you start understanding and going, now I know why they said that. Now I know why they did that. Now I know why they told me not to do it. So then you start becoming close because now you're on that adult level where you're now conversing and understanding. And I think you lose a lot of that in the youth part because even though they're there to support you and take you to your baseball games, let's say, or help with your homework or whatever it may be, you have a game night, but you're really not close to them.
Right.
Because you have all these things as a young person or a teenager that says, oh, I'm upset with them. I hate when they do this to me. I don't want to live by the rules, all those things. So I think you're right. I mean, because you don't have that time. And for a father to die at 49, you're just starting when you were 21.
Right.
You were just starting to understand maybe, right? I mean, and start to get close and then it's gone. So great kudos to you and your wife and your kids for doing that because you don't know when that day is coming. So you might as well let's make the most of what we got.
Absolutely.
That's great. I loved hearing that.
It's always been it's been an interesting path, but I feel like we've got a very close relationship. We have a lot of fun. It's different. And, I also wanted to make sure that growing up, they knew, like I said, I talked about weapons.
Sure.
They knew if they wanted to see something, they just asked.
Just ask, yeah.
If they wanted to try a beer, come to me.
Sure.
And I'd buy them a beer and let them try it at home.
Right.
All right. You can experiment in the safety of your own home. Of course, you hear all the time about people getting roofied or anything like that. I told them, don't trust that. So you can try that at home. It's better safe than sorry. And of course, if they were ever out at a party,
right,
there was always the blanket rule. Something happens, maybe you've had something to drink or you've taken something, whatever it is, or your ride's taken something.
Yeah, your ride's gone. Yeah.
Give me a call. I will come and pick you up and put you in bed. No questions asked. You're done. You're safe and sound. I'll give your friends a ride home, whatever it would be.
Because safety is over anything else. And you want them home safe and sound. To berate them I get it. We all grew up with tough parents, at one time, but it was also a flip side to that, like you said. I'd rather have them do something with me than having experience it with somebody else and have it go bad. You know what I mean? Because it can't go bad when it's under your watch.
Right. And I know all the stupid things I did growing up.
Oh, we all do.
So, it's like, okay, let me think about that. Do I want them doing that?
Yeah.
No. And again, like you said, no berating, no anything. I'm there. I was Uber before Uber was available. So yeah, and that's the beautiful part now is that, there are so many avenues aside from a taxi, but you got Uber, Lyft, and everything like that really nobody should be in a position to where they're drunk driving anymore. So.
No. I mean, it's at this stage of the game to really be drunk driving. I mean, with so many avenues of other ways to get home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and so many ways to contact people.
Yep.
I mean, you and I, we had what? You had a payphone.
Pager.
Somebody, and then that's it. I mean, they get a hold of somebody and maybe call a taxi, which was expensive at the time. But now there are so many avenues. There's so many ways to get back somewhere. It's the adults. I mean, don't worry about it's not just the adults. Do you know better?
Yes.
Really? You know better. Really I mean, you know what the limit is. You know where you know your personal limit, right? And if you know you're going to break that limit, make a plan B.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard. But human beings are human beings, right?
Absolutely. And that's even if you change your plans, be prepared to, okay, hey, maybe I'm going to go out and I'm going to see we're in Vegas. I'm going to go out to a show. I'm going to go out to the casino or something. I'm not going to drink. You get there. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and have a beer or two.
Exactly.
Or whatever the heck you want to drink. And you just know that, okay, I'm going to have to Uber or Lyft home or call a friend or whatever.
Right.
Between my wife and I, we're like, all right, flip a coin. who's driving,
That's all. I mean, it's not that hard.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And typically I prefer anymore, if we're going to go out and I drive, I'd rather be the one to drive. So
Right.
I'll let her drink. If I want to drink when we get home, I got a beautifully stocked bar.
There you go.
I'll crack a bottle.
Yeah, no, I get it. And you graced me with a bottle of 1792.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yes.
that is, yeah.
It's a beautiful small batch.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a beautiful sipping bourbon.
That's awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to letting you know how I try that out. So
Excellent.
yeah. So I mean, when you look at some of those things in life that you go through, and that we all go through, and what we discuss here on the show is, there's a lot of different paths that we take. Just because you start on one doesn't mean you end up on the same path. It's okay to have different paths. I mean, you obviously going from doing your DJ business, musician, going into IT work, ended up having your own cybersecurity company. I mean,
and even that is a drastic change in life.
Yeah.
The cybersecurity company.
Yeah.
Because before I opened up Mojave IT Pros, I was actually a senior manager for a corporate credit card company here in town. Senior manager on one of the tech side.
Right.
But unfortunately, my wife, she had a number of issues, gastrointestinal, and she had unfortunately blacked out one day and just collapsed.
Wow.
So, we're checking neurological, we're checking for nerve damage for everything she did.
Sure.
And then the stomach issues and everything like that came along. She ended up losing about 90 pounds in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months. It was fast.
It was fast.
Harsh. And of course, because of the fall, she had tremors.
Right.
So I was worried about her falling. Thankfully, she worked from home, still does. But I moved her office from the second floor into the den.
Right.
So I didn't have to worry about the stairs.
Yeah.
But again, going to the office and everything like that. And there were several days. And I was grateful that, post-COVID, we still had this hybrid work from home capabilities that I was able to sometimes run home and take care of her on bad days or something happened or something like that. But long run, I knew that, all right, something's got to change.
Sure.
And that's where I know I've seen enough and I have the opportunity to start my own company and help people protect themselves, educate them, but provide a situation where I can be home and take care of her as well. And that's the beauty of IT, because I can remote into anybody's computer.
Exactly.
As needed. I can just remote in, get it taken care of. Zoom training, whatever.
So just reinventing yourself and basically adapting based on what was going on at home.
Absolutely.
Taking the skills that you had and figuring a way to make it combine together so you can take care of things at home with your wife and also create a living.
Absolutely. And fortunately, this past year and a half, having been home and being able to take care of her, she's gotten stronger.
That's
We're
great.
back to training and we're just moving along and living a life, hitting concerts and enjoying Vegas, doing what we want. Empty nesters.
And you were telling me you do a networking group.
Absolutely. So, I've with the company, I've bumped into several networking groups here in Vegas, and it's a whole wild community that's fantastic. Wow. So I'm a part of a group that we meet every Monday at 5:30 on Zoom. It's called BEST, Building Entrepreneurial Success Together. So Best Business Alliance.
Best. Like it.
Another group, it's Mastermind Support Local.
Right.
And that one's Thursday mornings on Zoom. And these are networking groups of small business owners who come together and work together to help each other, promote each other, provide referrals,
share ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, of course, all the networking events around town. For example, we've got one coming up. It's at the Ahern on the 16th of September. It's 3 to 7:30.
Right.
And it's a small business expo that's going to have, I've lost count. I can't remember how many tables, but there's a lot of small businesses. And they're anticipating 2,000 to 3,000 people coming through there. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time.
That's going to be great. Yeah.
But we get to go to these large networking events that are fantastic for small businesses, and you've got everybody there from, again, IT, but I've seen yoga, windows, doors, solar companies, you name it, that are out there. And you meet so many fantastic people.
You do.
That's what led me to Bobby Kahn's events, in fact.
Right.
My wife was following Bobby, and she was telling me, you need to check this guy out. And I started watching his videos, and I just really liked what he was saying. So I was like, well, let's go to some of his events and let's network.
Right.
And yeah, now we just love going because one, he's a fantastic gentleman. He was great, but the people we've met there are fantastic.
Yeah,
As we saw
that's
you,
how I met
you and I
you.
met.
Yeah.
So it's become just so much more of a family, where, that we could go out to and get a chance to live up Vegas. Make Vegas Vegas again. It's
Yeah.
classy. It's fun. It's the experience, and that's great.
It is.
With a fantastic message.
Yeah. And people need to understand networking is, it improves, even if you're not going to get business out of it or share your business with somebody to get out of it.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
sharing of the ideas and the sharing of where people have, because they'll share it with you. They'll share where they started, how they got to where they got. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of differences. And I think in that in itself is an experience, because by gathering information, it's stuff you could put in your vault, stuff you could save for later and say, hey, you know what? I remember this person talking about how they did this with their business, or because you're looking to do different marketing, or you're looking to go expand, or you're looking to do something with somebody else. You have these experiences at these networking events to say, I have something from somebody.
Exactly. And one of the things I kind of tell everybody when they come, don't expect to walk in a door and start selling things. It's not a flea market or a farmer's market.
There you go. It's not a flea market.
It's networking.
Right.
So you're building connections, you're building relationships.
Sure.
And I've met some fantastic clients that over the course of several months, seen them over and over again, talking to them. And then they start to open up, and I'm like, oh, I've got this tech headache. Well, have you looked at this?
Yeah.
And you start to build that. You build the trust, and then they start asking you questions, or they look at you, and not only do they see you as somebody that they met at an event, that maybe you gave them their business card, but they remember you. They remember the card. They remember the solution that maybe you provided.
Right.
And you've built that relationship.
Yeah.
And hopefully at that point, it can go to the next step where you've extended the business opportunity.
Yeah. And most importantly, they get to know you as a person.
Yes.
Because people do business with people, and, you have to have that likable personality. You have to have the ability to communicate and talk to somebody in order for them to then reciprocate.
Absolutely.
And that's just pretty much what networking is. And I think people don't understand that. Like you said, networking isn't a flea market.
No,
love that. I love that. I'm going to use that. It isn't. It's your chance to showcase who you are as a person, them to showcase who they are as people, and then see how you can and cannot work together. Doesn't mean you still can't learn from somebody if they have nothing to offer.
Absolutely. I mean, and as you go through there's been dozens of businesses where it's like, it's fantastic. Not a service I'd ever need or anything, but you know what? I like them. They provide a fantastic service. Right. I never know who I'm going to meet the next day.
Exactly.
Maybe you need new solar panels installed. I know a guy. That's really the great part about it is that as a community that you come together and you help each other. The small businesses are working together because you're always going to be up against somebody bigger.
Sure.
So it's fantastic that the networking community here in Vegas is vast,
Right.
And I've listed off 2 that I've chosen to be a part of. There are many other groups that I go across and find along the way, and not just like on LinkedIn or Lineable, and there's all over.
Yeah.
And they're out there, and they're hosting fantastic events that you go through and you could go to.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I guess if there's a number one thing you should do when you open your own business is just network. Just network. Get out there.
Yeah.
Like you said, don't rely on things like LinkedIn or just social media. You have to meet with people, even by Zoom. Meet with them. You have to be face to voice and voice to face. Everybody wants to kick each other's tires to see how things work. And then eventually, as time goes on, you may or may not need their service, maybe sooner than later or never.
Absolutely.
So
the first year I started up Mojave IT Pros, I hit every event I could, and I just hit the ground as hard as I could.
Right.
Run into network events throughout the week. I'd be going to multiple events in a day. And when I first heard somebody mention, I've heard of Mojave IT Pros, and And it's not somebody that I've met and you're seeing again.
Right.
And I've introduced myself and they're like, oh, I've heard of Mojave IT Pros. You're Gideon.
Right.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm making traction. I'm making a headway. And that's when,
great.
I really got a lot of a renewed confidence right there.
Wow.
So that's fantastic.
Awesome. Now, if you were to sum up the cybersecurity end of it, what would be the 3 main things you want people to remember? Not to be 3 exactly, but what would be your key takeaways for cybersecurity for people listening right now?
I'd say that the 3 things that are key takeaways are, using a password keeper or manager that allows you to go through and create stronger passwords. Again, we have 250 on average.
Right.
So you got to go through and do a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of house cleaning on your passwords.
Got it.
That's going to fortify it. The second thing with passwords is that almost everything has 2-factor authentication. Because the big thing about authenticating with passwords or anything, it's something something you are, and something you have. All right. So something username, password. Something you are. Maybe you use facial identification.
Got it.
Thumbprint, whatever it would be.
Right.
That's something you have, are. And then something you have. Maybe you have a token or an application, something like that you can use to authenticate. So that 2-factor authentication helps immensely stop breaches. Because if somebody were to log in with a username and password, you get a prompt or a text that gives you the code, you've just been alerted that somebody's trying to log in.
Got it.
All right. Now they don't have that code. They can't log in. All you got to do is change your password.
Sure.
So that's and the other part about that is that banks, credit cards, all these companies, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they offer 2-factor as part of their login for free.
Do the 2-factor.
Do 2-factor. And it might be a pain in the neck to go through and set everything up and establish it. But you know what?
It beats the alternative.
It beats the alternative. You got to go look at your checking account and your banking accounts and picture those emptied out or whatever.
Right, exactly.
And say, okay, it's worth the cleaning the gutters, so to speak. Nobody wants to do that.
Sure.
It stinks. You got to be up. No, yeah, it's work that we got to do. It's just upkeep. It's maintenance.
Absolutely.
So I would say that passwords, 2-factor. And then the third thing, trust but verify. When you get a text or an email or something along those lines, research it. Don't click the link. If something comes in, go straight to the site and look it up, log in. Don't use the link to log in.
Got it.
Go there. That way you're getting past it. You're not going to click on those links. You're going to get past it. And if it's a scam, it's a scam. Trust me, they'll let you know when you log in if they want money or something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, those 3 things are great. Gideon, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's been great. Now, if somebody wants to send questions out to you, what's the best way to them to do it? Through your Instagram or through your company's website?
Absolutely. So they can find me on Instagram, Mojave IT Pros, or mojaveitpros.com.
Right. Okay.
And,
easy enough.
Easy enough. Pretty straightforward.
Excellent. This way people can get in touch, ask questions about cybersecurity. I'm sure people are going to probably have questions after hearing this. So
absolutely. And I love answering questions. I think it's a knowledge I have that I can share, and I'm absolutely up for it. I don't think that people should be charged to share that.
Well, I appreciate it. You've shared a lot with us. It's great. Thank you, everybody. Gideon Ford being here today.
Thank you.
He's been opened up, certainly my eyes on a lot of things I didn't realize. When you think you know a lot about a certain subject, like even cybersecurity, you learn a lot more. And in the ever-changing world of technology, you want to learn as much as you can day in and day out. So stay tuned. We'll be back with Kickback again here in the vault. Until then, Gideon and myself will say goodbye.
Sounds great.
There you go.
Thank you.
Kickback.